The marble corridors of Roland Medical Center gleamed under fluorescent lights that hummed like distant wasps. Ava Collins moved through them like a ghost, her worn sneakers squeaking against polished floors that cost more than she'd earned in 6 months. The pill bottle rattled in her grip. Mrs. Henderson needed them before midnight. She was 24 and exhausted down to her bones. Her grandmother Ruth waited at home, counting breaths that came harder each day. The bills never stopped. Neither did Ava. The executive wing appeared without warning. She shouldn't be here, but cutting through would save 5 minutes. 5 minutes Ruth might need. The collision happened fast. 1 second, empty corridor. The next, solid wall of expensive suit and muscle. The pill bottle exploded from her hands. White capsules scattered across the floor like fallen stars. Ava's palm pressed flat against fabric that cost more than her rent. Beneath it, a heartbeat. Steady. Strong. For one impossible moment, she felt warmth. Then she looked up. Ethan Roland stared down at her with eyes the color of winter storms. 32 years old, CEO, untouchable. His black suit was perfect except where her fingers had wrinkled it. Not a strand of dark hair out of place despite the impact. But those eyes, they locked onto hers like a predator sighting prey. "Did you think touching me would get you somewhere, Miss Collins?" Her stomach dropped. He knew her name. "I'm sorry, sir. It was an accident." She dropped to her knees, scrambling for pills with shaking hands. Each one felt like a lifeline slipping away. His shadow fell across her like a threat. "One touch." His voice dropped to a whisper that sliced through sterile air. "You think you can climb that high with a single touch?" "Please," her voice cracked. "My patient needs these medications. I swear it was an accident." Something flickered across his face. Surprise. Confusion. Gone before she could name it. He crouched beside her. His cologne mixed with antiseptic. Without speaking, he picked up a pill and placed it in her trembling palm. His fingers brushed hers. Electricity shot up her arm. Her breath caught. "You will pay, Miss Collins," he murmured, so quiet only she could hear. "In ways you cannot imagine." Then he stood and walked away. His footsteps echoed like gunshots. Ava remained on her knees, staring at the pill in her hand. Where his skin had touched hers, it burned. Something had shifted. She felt it in her racing heart, in the way her skin tingled, in the weight of his words settling into her chest like stones. She had touched Ethan Roland, and impossibly he had touched her back. 3 days later, her access card beeped red at the hospital entrance. Denied. The security guard watched with satisfaction as the turnstile trapped her in the lobby. "There must be a mistake," Ava said. The receptionist didn't look up. "Your contract has been terminated effective immediately. Return your badge. 6 months of work. Erased. Can I speak to my supervisor? Mr. Roland doesn't provide explanations for staffing decisions." That night, Ava's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Miss Collins, my office. Tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Come alone." She stared at the screen until the words blurred. Ethan Roland, summoning her like a lord calling a peasant to court. She should delete it, should run, should pack what little they owned and leave before whatever game he was playing destroyed what remained of her life. Instead, she texted back one word. Yes. The elevator to the top floor felt like ascending to judgment. When the doors opened, Ava stepped into an opulent reception area designed to intimidate. Original paintings. Carpet so thick it swallowed sound. A woman in an immaculate suit materialized. "Mr. Roland is waiting." The walk down the hallway stretched forever. Each step brought her closer to answers she didn't want. Ethan Roland's office was a study in power. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed Manhattan like a toy city arranged for his pleasure. He stood silhouetted against the glittering skyline back to the door. "Thank you, Margaret. That will be all." The door clicked shut, a trap snapping closed. "You came," Ethan said, finally turning. He'd removed his suit jacket. White shirt open at the collar, somehow more dangerous without the armor. "I wasn't certain you would." "You destroyed my life," Ava said. Her voice was steadier than her hands. "The least you could do is explain why." Something crossed his face. Respect, maybe. Direct. I appreciate that quality. He gestured to a leather chair. "Please sit." "I prefer to stand." "Suit yourself." He settled into his chair, eyes never leaving her face. "Tell me about your grandmother." The question caught her off guard. What does my grandmother have to do with anything? Humor me. Her jaw tightened. She raised me after my parents died. She's everything. She's sick. Her medications are expensive. And without my job, I can't afford to keep her alive. Is that what you wanted to hear? Among other things. Ethan opened a folder. Scanned the contents. Ruth Collins. Age 78. Congestive heart failure and diabetes. Currently receiving care from Dr. Martinez at Brooklyn General. Outstanding medical bills totaling approximately $47,000. Blood drained from Ava's face. How do you know that? I make it my business to know everything about people who interest me. He closed the folder. And you, Miss Collins, have become unexpectedly interesting. Because I bumped into you? Because I accidentally touched your precious suit? Because you touched me, he said quietly. And I felt it. The words hung between them like a confession. I don't understand. Ethan stood, moved to the window, his reflection ghost-like in dark glass. I haven't felt human touch in over 3 years, Miss Collins. Not by choice. It's a medical condition my family prefers to keep private. Yet somehow, when you collided with me, when your hand pressed against my chest, I felt everything. Ava's mind reeled. That's impossible. So I thought. He turned back, eyes intense with something that looked like hunger. I've spent the last 3 days trying to understand what happened. What made you different? I've had blood work done, consulted specialists, reviewed security footage frame by frame. He paused. The conclusion I've reached is both simple and impossible. Which is, you, Miss Ava Collins from Brooklyn, are the only person in 3 years who has been able to touch me and make me feel human again. Silence stretched between them like a wire pulled taut. And I'm prepared to offer you a deal that will solve both of our problems. A deal. Her voice barely rose above a whisper. Ethan withdrew a thick document from his desk. Papers rustled as he placed them in front of the empty chair. A contract. 1 year of your life in exchange for everything your grandmother needs. And more. Ava stepped closer despite every instinct screaming to run. The cover page bore the Roland medical letterhead and her full name typed in precise legal formatting. What kind of contract? Sit down, Miss Collins, please. This time she didn't refuse. The leather enveloped her as she reached for the papers. The first page made her breath catch. Contractual agreement for personal companionship. You want me to be what exactly? Your mistress? Nothing so crude. Ethan leaned back in his chair. I need someone who can touch me, who can make me feel. In return, I will pay all of your grandmother's medical expenses, past, present, and future. I'll provide you with a salary of $10,000 per month, housing in a property I own, and at the end of 1 year, a severance package of $200,000. The numbers made her dizzy. Why me? Because you're the only one who can. He leaned forward. I've tried, Miss Collins. Paid doctors, hired specialists, touched hundreds of people looking for someone, anyone, who could break through this condition. You're the first. The only... This is insane. Yes, his eyes held hers, but it's the truth. And you have 48 hours to decide before the offer expires, before your grandmother's next round of medications comes due. Ava's hand shook as she held the contract. The weight of it felt like holding Ruth's life. What would I have to do? Be available when I need you. Live in the apartment I provide. Touch me when I require it. Nothing sexual unless you consent. Just touch. Human contact. The one thing I've been denied. And if I refuse, something cold flickered in his eyes. Then your grandmother continues to suffer, and you continue to struggle. I'm offering you a way out, Miss Collins. Perhaps the only way you'll ever get. He stood, buttoned his jacket, became once again the untouchable CEO. Think about it. My driver will take you home. Leave the contract. Read it carefully. If you agree, sign it and return it within 48 hours. If not, I'll consider our business concluded. Ava stood on shaking legs, clutched her purse like a shield. Why fire me first? Why not just ask? A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Because I needed you desperate enough to say yes. Vulnerable enough to consider it. I'm not a good man, Miss Collins. I'm ruthless, cold, efficient. But I'm honest about what I want. He moved to the door, opened it. And what I want is you. The drive home passed in a blur. Ava sat in the back of a town car that smelled like leather and money, the contract heavy in her lap. When she finally climbed the stairs to their apartment, she found Ruth asleep in her chair. The pill bottles on the side table were nearly empty. Ava knelt beside her grandmother, took her frail hand. "I'm sorry, Grandma," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." But even as she said it, she knew what her answer would be. She opened the contract and began to read. The apartment Ethan provided was in Manhattan. 12th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Ava stood in the living room holding her single suitcase and feeling like an imposter. Ruth was settled in Brooklyn General's private care facility. Best doctors, round-the-clock nursing, all bills paid in full. Her grandmother had cried when Ava explained she'd gotten a better job with housing included. The lie had tasted like ash. "Miss Collins," she turned. Ethan stood in the doorway, perfectly tailored as always. But there was something in his eyes. Uncertainty, maybe, or anticipation. "I wasn't sure you'd be here. I signed your contract." Ava set down her suitcase. "I keep my promises." "Good." He stepped inside. The door clicked shut behind him. "Then we should establish some ground rules." I read the contract. 37 pages of rules. Those are legal requirements. He moved closer, stopped 3 feet away. "I'm talking about personal boundaries. What you're comfortable with, what you're not." Ava crossed her arms. "You want me to touch you. That's the deal. I want you willing." His voice dropped. "Not just compliant. There's a difference." "Is there?" "You bought me, Mr. Roland. Let's not pretend this is anything else." Something flashed in his eyes. Anger. Or hurt. "I bought your time. Your proximity, not your dignity." Same thing from where I'm standing. Ethan exhaled slowly, ran a hand through his hair, disrupting the perfect styling. The first time she'd seen him anything less than immaculate. "Sit down, please." They sat on opposite ends of a white leather couch. The space between them felt like an ocean. "I need you to understand something," Ethan said. "This condition I have. It's called congenital analgesia with sensory neuropathy. Extremely rare. I can't feel physical touch. No pain. No pleasure. Nothing. It started when I was 29. No cause. No cure. That must be lonely." He looked at her sharply, like he'd expected pity or disgust. "Not understanding? Yes, it is." He paused. "I've shaken hands with presidents and felt nothing. Embraced my dying father and couldn't feel his arms around me. I exist in a world where everyone else can connect physically and I'm behind glass, forever separated. Until me. Until you." His eyes held hers. "When you touched me in that corridor, I felt your palm against my chest. The warmth of your skin, your heart beat through the fabric. For 10 seconds, I was human again." Ava's throat tightened. "I'm sorry for what you've been through. I don't want your pity." "Good. Because I don't pity you. You're still ruthless enough to manipulate me into this situation." A ghost of a smile. "Fair enough." Silence settled between them. Outside, the city hummed with life. "So how does this work?" Ava finally asked. "Do you just grab my hand whenever you feel like it?" "I was hoping we could start slowly, build up to more sustained contact." He hesitated. "Would you be willing to try something now?" Her heart kicked up. "What?" "Give me your hand." Ava extended her right hand slowly. It trembled slightly in the space between them. Ethan stared at it like it was something precious and dangerous. Then, with the care of someone handling explosive material, he reached out. His fingers touched hers. The same electricity from before. But this time she was prepared. She watched his face transform. Eyes closing, breath catching, like a man dying of thirst taking his first drink of water. "I can feel you," he whispered. "Your pulse. The texture of your skin, the warmth." His hand closed around hers, squeezed gently. His thumb traced across her knuckles. "What does it feel like?" Ava asked softly. "Like coming home." He opened his eyes. They were bright, almost vulnerable, like the world has color again. Something shifted in Ava's chest. This wasn't just a transaction anymore. This was witnessing someone's humanity restored. "How long has it been since you felt anything?" 3 years. 2 months. 16 days. The precision of his answer broke something inside her. She squeezed his hand back. "I'm here now." They sat like that for 5 minutes, just holding hands. His thumb kept moving across her skin, like he was memorizing the sensation. When he finally released her, the loss seemed to hit him physically. His shoulders sagged. "Thank you. That's all you needed? Just that?" "For today." He stood, buttoned his jacket, the CEO mask sliding back into place. "Tomorrow I'd like to try something more. If you're willing." "Like what?" "We'll discuss it then." He moved toward the door, paused. "You should know something, Miss Collins. I'm going to ask more of you as time goes on. Push boundaries, test limits, because every moment I spend with you, I feel more alive. And that's addictive." "That sounds like a warning." "It is." He met her eyes. "I'm not good at wanting things and not taking them. And I want you in ways I'm not ready to name." Then he was gone. The door closing with a soft click, Ava sat on the couch staring at her hand. It still tingled where he'd touched her. She'd signed up for a year. 12 months of being his lifeline to sensation. What she hadn't anticipated was the way her heart had twisted when she'd seen the vulnerability in his eyes, the genuine gratitude in his voice. This was supposed to be simple. A transaction, money for touch. But nothing about Ethan Roland was simple. The next evening, he arrived at 7. This time he brought dinner. Thai food from a place that probably required reservations months in advance. They ate at the kitchen island. Made small talk about Ruth's progress, about the weather, about everything except the real reason he was there. Finally, Ethan set down his fork. "I'd like to try something different tonight." Ava's pulse quickened. "Okay, can I touch your face?" The intimacy of the request caught her off guard. "Why?" "Because I want to know what it feels like." His voice was quiet, raw. To touch someone's face. To trace the curves. To feel expressions change under my fingers. I haven't been able to do that in 3 years. Something in his honesty made her answer. "Yes, you can." He stood. Moved around the island. Stood in front of her. His hands rose slowly, hesitated inches from her skin. "You can say no. At any time." "I know." His fingertips touched her cheekbone, light as butterfly wings. His breath caught. "Tell me what you feel," Ava whispered. "Warmth, softness, the slight flush under your skin." His thumb traced her jawline. "You're holding your breath." She hadn't realized. She exhaled slowly. His fingers moved to her temple, down to her ear, traced the shell of it, then back to her cheek. His touch was reverent, exploratory, like a blind man learning to see through his hands. "Your heart is racing," he murmured. "I can feel your pulse here." His thumb pressed gently against her throat. "You're very close," she managed. "Does it bother you?" "I don't know." His eyes met hers. They stood inches apart. His hand still cupped her face. "I should go," he said. But he didn't move. Neither did she. "Ethan," she whispered. His name felt strange on her tongue. "Don't." His jaw clenched. "Don't say my name like that unless you mean it." "Like what?" "Like you might want this too." The air between them crackled with tension. His thumb traced her lower lip. Her breath hitched, then his phone buzzed. The moment shattered. Ethan stepped back, pulled out his phone. "Read the screen." His expression went cold. "I have to go. Emergency at the hospital." He was gone before she could respond. Left her standing in the kitchen with her heart hammering and her face still tingling where he'd touched her. Ava pressed her hands against the cool granite counter. Tried to steady her breathing. Tried to ignore the way her body had responded to his touch. The way she'd wanted him to keep going. This was a mistake. She could feel it in her bones. But it was too late to turn back now. 3 weeks passed in a strange rhythm. Ethan came every evening, each time pushing boundaries a little further. A hand on her shoulder, fingers through her hair. Once he'd asked to hold her while they watched television. She'd let him. His arms had been strong around her, his heart steady against her back. They talked. Really talked. About his father's death, about her parents' accident, about loneliness and loss and the ways people learn to survive. She found herself waiting for his arrivals, missing him when he left. That's when she knew she was in trouble. The betrayal came on a Tuesday. Ava was visiting Ruth at the care facility. Her grandmother looked better, color in her cheeks, strength returning. "You look tired, sweetheart," Ruth said. "This new job treating you okay?" "It's fine, Grandma. Don't worry." "I worry because I love you." Ruth took her hand. "And because I'm not stupid. I know this facility costs more than any job would pay. So either you won the lottery or you made a deal you're not telling me about." Ava's throat closed. "Grandma, just tell me you're safe. That's all I need to know. I'm safe. I promise." But even as she said it, a nurse approached. Young, pretty, nervous. "Miss Collins, can I speak with you privately?" They stepped into the hallway. "I'm not supposed to say anything," the nurse whispered. "But I thought you should know. Mr. Roland was here yesterday, asking questions about your grandmother's condition, taking notes. He seemed very interested in her prognosis. Ice flooded Ava's veins. What kind of questions? How long she'd live without treatment? What would happen if medications were stopped? If the care facility would keep her comfortable during end-of-life care? The floor tilted beneath Ava's feet. "Are you sure?" "I heard him myself." "I'm sorry. I thought you knew." Ava drove back to Manhattan in a daze, let herself into the apartment. Found Ethan sitting on the couch waiting. "You're early," he said, smiling. "I brought dinner." She stood in the doorway, stared at him. "You were at Brooklyn General yesterday." His smile faded. "I check on her progress. Make sure she's receiving adequate care." "You were asking about what would happen if treatment stopped." Silence, the kind that confirmed everything. "Ava." His voice was careful. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" "That you're keeping my grandmother alive as leverage. That the second I don't give you what you want, you'll pull the plug." He stood. "It's not like that." "Then what is it like, Ethan? Tell me. Because from where I'm standing, you're holding her life over my head to keep me compliant." I needed to understand the parameters of the situation. If something happened to her, I needed to know how it would affect you. "Affect us. There is no us." Her voice broke. "This is a contract. A transaction. You bought me, and apparently you're making sure I stay bought. You're twisting this." "Am I?" Tears burned her eyes. "You made me desperate, fired me, dangled hope in front of me. And now you're researching how to maintain control. That's not caring, Ethan. That's ownership." He crossed the room in 3 strides, grabbed her shoulders, then froze, realized what he'd done, released her. "I'm sorry. I can't lose this. Lose you. You're the only person who makes me feel human, and I got scared, and I made a mistake, and I'm sorry." His desperation almost broke her resolve. Almost. "I need time to think." "How much time?" "I don't know, just leave, please." He stared at her for a long moment, then nodded, grabbed his jacket, stopped at the door. "I meant what I said. I'm sorry. And whatever you think of me, your grandmother will receive care. Contract or no contract. I promise you that." Then he was gone. Ava sank onto the couch, buried her face in her hands, and finally let herself cry. Because the worst part wasn't the betrayal. The worst part was that despite everything, despite knowing what he'd done, she still felt the ache of his absence, still wanted him to come back. 3 days passed in silence. The apartment felt emptier than before. Ava visited Ruth daily, watched her grandmother grow stronger. Each improvement felt like both a blessing and a chain. On the 4th morning, Ava found an envelope slipped under her door. Inside was a single piece of paper. Not legal language, just Ethan's handwriting. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I need you to understand something. Before you, I had accepted that I would live the rest of my life behind glass, untouched, untouchable. You gave me hope that I could be human again, and that hope made me desperate, made me do something unconscionable. Your grandmother's care will continue regardless of your decision. I've set up a trust. It's irrevocable. She'll be taken care of for the rest of her life. You can verify this with my lawyers. If you choose to leave, the severance package is yours. $200,000. No strings. Consider it payment for what I put you through. If you choose to stay, I promise I will never manipulate you again. You'll have all the power, all the control. I'll be at your mercy instead of you at mine. Either way, thank you for giving me 4 weeks of feeling alive." Ethan Ava read it 3 times. Then she called the law firm listed at the bottom of the letter. He was telling the truth. The trust existed. Ruth would never worry about medical bills again. She was free. So why did freedom feel like a cage? That evening, Ava stood at the apartment's floor-to-ceiling windows, watched the city lights flicker to life, made a decision that terrified her. She texted Ethan, "Come over. We need to talk." He arrived within 20 minutes, hair disheveled, jacket wrinkled, like he'd been running. They stood in the living room, the same space where he'd first touched her face. "I verified the trust," Ava said. "I wouldn't lie about that." "No, you just manipulate instead." The words came out sharper than intended. Ethan flinched. "Fair, I should leave. Take the money. Walk away from whatever this is, but I can't stop thinking about the way you looked when you touched me. Like you were drowning and I was air." She wrapped her arms around herself. "And I hate that I care. I hate that some part of me wants to help you, wants to be the one who makes you feel human." He took a step closer. "Then stay. It's not that simple." "Why not?" "Because I'm starting to feel something for you." The confession hung between them, and that wasn't part of the contract. That makes this real, and real things can hurt me. Ethan's expression cracked. "You think you're the only one at risk here? Every time you touch me, I feel more. Want more, need more. You have all the power, Ava. You always have, because I would do anything, to keep feeling what I feel when I'm with you. That's not love. That's addiction. Maybe it started that way." He moved closer. "But it's not anymore. I know your coffee order. I know you bite your thumbnail when you're nervous. I know you call your grandmother every morning at 8. I know you cry when you think no one's listening. I know you." Knowing someone isn't the same as caring about them, then let me prove it. He stopped inches away. "Tell me what you need. What would make you feel safe enough to stay?" Ava's throat tightened. Honesty. Complete honesty. No more manipulations. No more games. "If we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need to know I can trust you. You have my word. Your word means nothing right now." Ethan exhaled slowly. Then he did something she'd never seen. He knelt, right there in the living room, looked up at her with raw vulnerability. "I'm sorry for manipulating you, for using your grandmother as leverage, for being so desperate to feel that I lost sight of your humanity." His voice cracked. "I'm asking for a second chance. Not because I deserve it, but because I think we could have something real if we started over. On equal ground." Ava stared down at him. This man who commanded empires, who moved through the world with absolute authority, on his knees before her. "Get up." He stood, but didn't move away. "I'll stay," Ava said. "But we tear up that contract. We start fresh, no money, no transactions. Just two people trying to figure out if this connection we have is worth exploring. Your grandmother's care stays in place. You already set up the trust, but I don't want your money anymore. I don't want to feel bought." "Then what do you want?" She reached up, placed her palm against his chest, felt his heartbeat quicken under her touch. "I want to know if what I feel when I touch you is real, or if it's just the contract talking." Ethan's hand covered hers. "There's one way to find out." He leaned down slowly, giving her time to pull away. When she didn't, his lips brushed hers. The kiss was soft at first, exploratory, then deeper. His arms wrapped around her, pulled her close. She felt his whole body shudder. When they finally pulled apart, his eyes were bright with unshed tears. "I felt that," he whispered. "Everything. The softness of your lips, the warmth of your breath, the way your fingers curled into my shirt. I felt it all." Ava's heart hammered. So did I. They stood there, holding each other. Not because a contract demanded it, but because neither wanted to let go. The next 2 months were different. They dated, real dates, coffee shops where no one knew him, walk through Central Park, late-night conversations that stretched until dawn. Ava moved her things back to Brooklyn, rented a small apartment near Ruth's facility. Ethan visited her there instead, sat on her worn couch, ate takeout from paper containers, learned to exist in her world instead of demanding she orbit his. He was different without the contract between them. Softer, more vulnerable. He laughed more, touched her like she was precious instead of necessary. And Ava fell. Not because he could give her money or security, but because she saw the man behind the CEO, the lonely boy who'd lost his father, the isolated soul who'd spent 3 years in silence. They were lying on her couch one evening, his head in her lap, her fingers running through his hair. He'd fallen asleep like that, the first time she'd seen him fully at peace. That's when her phone rang. Brooklyn General. Ruth's doctor. Miss Collins, you need to come immediately. Your grandmother's taken a turn. The world tilted. What kind of turn? Her heart. We're doing everything we can, but you should come now. Ava looked down at Ethan, sleeping peacefully. For the first time in 3 years, able to feel someone's touch and relax into it. She could wake him, could ask him to drive her, could lean on his strength. But Ruth's voice echoed in her memory. I worry because I love you. Just tell me you're safe. If Ruth saw Ethan, if she knew the truth, it would break her heart, would make her final moments filled with worry instead of peace. Gently, Ava slid out from under Ethan's head, placed a pillow beneath him, covered him with a blanket. She scribbled a note. Had to go to Ruth. Don't follow me, please. I need to do this alone. Then she grabbed her keys and ran. The hospital was too bright, too cold. Ruth lay in bed, tubes and wires connecting her to machines that beeped steadily. Her eyes opened when Ava took her hand. There's my girl. I'm here, Grandma. I'm here. You look happy. Ruth's voice was weak but clear. That new job, it's good to you? It's good to me. Good, that's all I wanted, to see you happy before I go. Don't talk like that, sweetheart. Ruth squeezed her hand. I'm tired. I've been tired for a long time, but I stayed because you needed me. Now look at you, strong, independent, happy. You don't need me anymore. I'll always need you. No, you'll always love me. That's different. Ruth's eyes drifted closed. It's okay to let me rest now. Grandma, please, tell me about him. Ava's breath caught. What? The man who put that light in your eyes. Tell me about him. So Ava did, through tears and broken words. She told Ruth about Ethan, about the contract that became something real, about the way he touched her like she was saving his life. Does he make you happy? Yes, then hold on to him. Life's too short for anything else. Ruth's breathing slowed. The monitor's beeping stretched further apart. I love you, Grandma. Love you too, sweetheart. So much. Then the steady beat became a single, endless tone, and Ruth was gone. Ava sat there, holding her grandmother's hand as it grew cold. Nurses came, doctors. Someone gently tried to lead her away. She didn't move. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt broken, then warm arms wrapped around her from behind. A familiar heartbeat against her back. I'm here, Ethan whispered. I've got you. I told you not to come, I know. But I couldn't let you do this alone. Ava turned, buried her face in his chest, and finally let herself break. He held her through it, stroked her hair, whispered meaningless comfort. Just stayed, solid, present, real. She knew about you. Ava managed between sobs. I told her. What did she say? She told me to hold on to you. Ethan's arms tightened. I'm not going anywhere. They stayed like that until the sun rose, until Ava had no tears left, until the world stopped spinning quite so wildly. When they finally left the hospital, Ethan helped her into his car, drove her back to her apartment, helped her inside. I should make arrangements, Ava said numbly. Funeral, her things. I don't know where to start. I'll help. With everything. Whatever you need, Ethan. Yeah? Thank you. For coming, for staying, for being here. He kissed her forehead. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. And in that moment, Ava realized something. She'd started this as a transaction, a way to save Ruth. But somewhere along the way, it had become about saving them both. The sacrifice hadn't been staying in the contract. It had been letting herself fall, letting herself need someone, letting herself be vulnerable enough to love. And love, she was learning, was the most terrifying sacrifice of all. Ruth's funeral was small. A handful of her friends from Brooklyn, some of the nurses who'd cared for her. Ethan stood beside Ava throughout, his hand never leaving hers. Afterward, they returned to Ava's apartment. She hadn't spoken much in 3 days, just moved through the motions of grief like walking underwater. I'm going to sell her things, Ava said, staring at boxes she'd brought from Ruth's old apartment. Most of it. Keep a few pieces. Take your time. I don't want time. I want her back. Ethan pulled her close. She let herself melt into him, let his presence anchor her. I need to tell you something, she said against his chest. Okay. The last thing Ruth said, before she knew she was dying. She told me life was too short for anything but happiness. Ava pulled back to look at him. And you make me happy. Even though we started as a mess, even though you manipulated me and I resented you and we had every reason to fail, you make me happy. Ethan's eyes shone. You saved my life, Ava, not just by touching me, by seeing me, the real me underneath all the money and power. You made me want to be better. So what do we do now? Whatever we want. No contracts, no obligations, just us. Ava kissed him, slow and deep, felt his response. The way his hands tangled in her hair, the way he held her like she might disappear. When they broke apart, she smiled. The first real smile in days. I think I want to go back to nursing, but on my terms this time. Maybe work at a clinic, somewhere I can actually help people. I'll support whatever you choose. And you? What do you want? Ethan cupped her face. I want this. Every day, coming home to you, touching you, being touched by you. Building something real. That sounds perfect. They spent the next week sorting through Ruth's belongings. Ethan helped without complaint. Carried boxes. Made decisions when Ava couldn't. Held her when grief ambushed her. One evening, while folding Ruth's blankets, Ava found a letter. Her name on the envelope in her grandmother's handwriting. Her hands shook as she opened it. My darling Ava, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And I hope you're not alone. I hope that man who put the light back in your eyes is there with you. I want you to know something. I knew the care facility was expensive. I knew you couldn't afford it on your salary. And I knew you made a deal to save me. I didn't know the details, and I didn't need to. I just needed to know you were safe. You have always been so strong, so determined to carry everything alone. But sweetheart, you don't have to. Let yourself be loved. Let yourself be helped. Let yourself be happy. I'm at peace. I lived a good life. I got to raise you into the incredible woman you became. That's more than enough. Be brave, be kind. Be happy, all my love. Grandma Ava's vision blurred with tears. Ethan appeared beside her, reached over her shoulder, then wrapped his arms around her while she cried. She knew, Ava whispered. She knew, and she let me do it anyway. She trusted you to make the right choice. Did I? Look at where we are now. Look at what we have. Yeah, you made the right choice. That night, they lay in Ava's bed, her head on his chest, his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder. Can you feel this? She asked. Every touch, every moment. Will it last? Your ability to feel me? I don't know. The doctors can't explain why you're different, why only you can break through. He kissed the top of her head. But even if it stops tomorrow, even if I lose the ability to feel again, I won't lose you. That's more important. You mean that? I love you, Ava. Not because you're the only person who can touch me, but because you're the only person who makes me want to be touched, the only person who makes me want to be better, the only person who sees past all my armor to the scared, lonely man underneath. Her heart swelled. I love you too, even though you're manipulative and ruthless and way too used to getting what you want. He laughed. Those are my worst qualities. I know. I love you anyway. 6 months later, Ava stood in a small clinic in Brooklyn. Her clinic, funded partly by her savings and mostly by Ethan's quiet investment. It served the neighborhood, people who couldn't afford fancy hospitals, people like she used to be. The sign above the door read, Ruth Collins Memorial Clinic. Ethan stood beside her at the ribbon cutting, his hand in hers. She would have loved this, Ava said. She would have loved seeing you this happy. The clinic opened to a crowd of neighbors, families, people who needed hope and healing. Ava worked tirelessly, came home exhausted, but fulfilled in a way she'd never been at Roland Medical. Ethan changed too. Became more involved in the hospital's charity work. Established funds for families who couldn't afford care. Learned that power was better used to lift people up than control them. They moved in together. A brownstone in Brooklyn, close enough to the clinic that Ava could walk, far enough from Manhattan that they could breathe, on their first anniversary of the collision. The day that started everything, Ethan surprised her with dinner. Not at an expensive restaurant, but on the roof of their brownstone, string lights and takeout and the city glittering around them. "I have something for you," he said. Ava raised an eyebrow. "You know I hate expensive gifts." "It's not expensive. It's important." He handed her an envelope. Inside was a contract, their original contract, the one they'd torn up, and beneath it, a different document, a marriage certificate, blank, waiting for signatures. "I'm not proposing," Ethan said quickly. "Not yet. I just wanted you to see the difference. This is what I wanted to control you with." He touched the contract. "And this is what I'm offering you now." He touched the certificate. One was about ownership. The other is about partnership. Ava's throat tightened. "Are you saying you want to marry me someday?" "I'm saying I want to spend the rest of my life choosing you. Every day. Not because a contract says I have to, but because I can't imagine existing in a world where I don't get to come home to you." "That's the most romantic thing you've ever said. Is that a yes?" "To marriage? Not yet. Ask me properly when the time comes." She kissed him. "But to choosing you every day? To building a life together? To being your person and letting you be mine?" "Yes, always yes." He pulled her close. She felt his heartbeat against hers. Steady, strong, real. "Can you feel this?" she whispered. "Everything," he breathed. "I feel everything." They stayed like that under the stars. Two people who'd collided by accident and chosen each other on purpose. Two people who'd learned that love wasn't about control or contracts. It was about trust, about vulnerability, about showing someone your scars and letting them love you anyway. Ava had believed fate was just a word people used to justify bad decisions. But standing there in Ethan's arms, she realized fate wasn't about destiny. It was about choice. She'd chosen to bump into him, chosen to sign his contract, chosen to tear it up, chosen to stay, chosen to love. And every day she would choose him again, not because she had to, but because she wanted to, because he was her home, her safety, her choice. And that was everything. The end.